There's a revolution brewing in the hearts and the minds of the awake. There's a revolution waking from slumber in the minds of those who are yet to fully realize what's happening around the world, but have an inner stirring, an inner voice calling to them, reminding them that they want to be free. Sometimes you see traces of this revolution on the street. You see signs being held and flyers being passed out and voices speaking through megaphones. Occasionally, you hear the revolution over the radio or through the internet. Sometimes you might even smell the revolution growing in your garden. But ultimately, this revolution remains in the hearts and minds of the individual. And that is you, and that is me. Together, as we spread this message of liberty, of true freedom, of self-rule, of responsibility, of mutual aid, of voluntary association, if we spread these ideas of freedom, they continue to grow. And ultimately, we will reach a tipping point where the ideas of freedom have overtaken the ideas of statism, the idea of government as parent figure or savior. And when we reach that point, and we will, we'll look back on the past, our current present, and wonder how we ever even lost the idea of freedom. It'll seem so obvious, like it's been there the entire time waiting for us. Because it is. And there are those who have not yet found this message. There are those who are still caught up in their own emotional muck or stuck in the day-to-day grind of the machine that is the state, attempting to give purpose to their lives, give purpose to the drudgery that we're told is just a part of life. That every good, honest person should be working a 9-to-5 job, should be a slave to the very system that we're told we need to exist. And these people who find themselves in these situations, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not sheeple. They're human beings, just as you or I, who have not yet come across this message. Does that mean we're the chosen ones and they are somehow lost in the wind? Not at all. There's no difference between you or anyone else who has not yet heard this message. We were all once in that place, and the only way we came to this place, where we consider ourselves to be aware or awake or in the process of educating ourselves so that we can move past these things, is because other people chose to keep the message alive and to pass it back to us. Now, as people begin to let go of this facade, this belief that we need the state, and people begin to wake up to the corporations and to the banks and to the way that they work together with the state, and they realize not only the power of the message of liberty, because that is definitely one step, and I know some of you got that, but then go even further and recognize that it's not just the state itself, but that there are people who run the state and control the state. There are a they. And once those people who are blind to the matrix are confronted with this information, they are also confronted with a choice. It requires them to face the fact that their life has been built upon a lie, and that everything that we've been told is a lie, and that there's something better. That also requires them to do something. And I know it's a scary choice, but it's one that's worth making. So when you see or find yourself, friends, family, who are relying on the state, and that is what keeps them from wanting to question, confront them with information, confront them with an education about what's really taking place in the world. Because only once we give up the treats and the goodies and the self-indulgences and this trough that the state has us feeding at, can we truly take the power from it and pull the rug up from under the state. But it's going to require us to let go and to stop being so afraid to let go. That includes taking care of your heart, your mind, your soul, your physical body, taking care of your education, taking care of those around you. I believe in you. I believe in the power of us to come together as empowered individuals and to not lose ourselves, but to only become stronger when we're joined together. To me, the idea of a voluntary society is a place where every man, woman, child, being is able to express themselves fully without the threat of force or violence against them for their choices in their own lives. To me, this is also what is known as anarchy. Anarchy coming from two Greek words, and signifying no or without, and arc meaning government, hence anarchy meaning no government. And in an anarchist society, we would have what is known as voluntarism, the belief in creating a voluntary society without force. The ideas of the non-aggression principle, the ideas that we can all work together and can respect each other and have our own minds and our own ability to take care of ourselves, taking the government out of social interaction and getting rid of this paternalism that we see where the government has control of everything. And to me, it goes deeper than that as well. I mean, recognizing that we have paternal systems that have taken control and we have turned away from the feminine as well, the feminine of paying attention to our planet and to our spiritual side. And so to me, when you start to work towards a voluntary society or an anarchist society, you're really reconnecting back to a closer, more natural state to what we probably experienced in the past. And my research into voluntarism and to create a voluntary society led me towards the idea of agorism. And agorism is basically the idea of anarchy in action. And so taking the ideas of self-rule and creating these better systems and actually going out in the world and doing it. So agorism is what I like to think of as once people have decided to stop reading about creating a voluntary society or an anarchist society and stop talking about it and decided to go out in the world and do this. So you look at any problem that we may face in the world or any situation we're dealing with where there is a state or government option and try to find ways that you as an individual or the community can do it better. So one of these ways is the food. Right now there's a huge monopoly on our lives, and specifically on what we ingest, what we put into our bodies. Growing your own food is one of the biggest steps towards independence. It lessens the control that the monopolies have on your lives It lessens the control that the monopolies have on the farmers that are growing food in other countries, and it also helps us localize and focus on what we can do here at home. And a big part of that for me is why focusing on anarchy and focusing on the self is so important, because we have individuals who are lost in themselves and are easily manipulated and taken advantage of by the state, and they buy into the division, they buy into the fear, they buy into all these different aspects. But when you start to really go deeper with this, and not just in a political understanding of anarchy or global events, but going deeper with it and really focusing on how you can better your local area, how you can better yourself, and all these things, you start to connect on a level that I believe takes you past just politics and understanding of that world. You start to connect with yourself, and when you go out there and you start to create gardens, or you create alternative currency networks, or creating barter networks, or just communicating and talking to your neighbors and moving past division and getting outside of the boxes, the matrix, so to speak, and learning to connect with each other. I think that's what's bringing us closer to evolving as a species, and I believe we are doing this already. The fact that these conversations are taking place, that these ideas are being explored, shows that they are spreading. And so I see the work of voluntarism and anarchism and agorism as hugely important, recognizing the power of your own self and what you're capable of, and the fact that nobody else can control you or should try to control your choices. And in that political philosophy of voluntarism, the idea is that the best way society can improve, and the only way society can truly improve, is the individualist method, the method of everybody doing their own to improve themselves. The idea is hoping that we can each change our individual units, and as we do that and that idea spreads, society will begin to improve as well.